When playing gigs or learning standards, I used to see major 7 sharp 11 and think, oh, there's that chord I don't know again, I'll just play C major 7. But it is a chord worth knowing, and in today's lesson I'm going to share with you my voicings for major 7 sharp 11 chords, super modern and powerful sounding chord. In this lesson you'll learn how the chord is constructed, what scale it comes from, and movable positions to help you integrate it into your playing. If you're new here, my name's Andy and I am a jazz musician and teacher based in England, and please consider subscribing and joining me every Wednesday for jazz guitar lessons. So, onto the chord. This chord goes under two names. Firstly, it goes under the name of major 7 sharp 11, but it can also be called the Lydian chord. And it's called the Lydian chord because it is found within the Lydian scale. The chord contains the following intervals, so it contains a root, a major third, a fifth, a major 7th, and a sharp 11, which could also be called a sharp 4. It's very common for that fifth to be omitted. Why is it called a sharp 11 or a sharp 4? Well, if you continued the C Lydian scale into the second octave, the 11th note will be F sharp, because you'll go C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, so that C is 8 octave, and then D is the 9th, then you have E again, which would be a 10th if you like, and then F sharp would be our 11th note. And why sharp 11? Well, if you compare the Lydian scale to the major scale, you can see the difference, and all the differences is the fourth. So in a major scale you have a perfect fourth, and in a Lydian scale you have a sharp 4 or a sharp 11. Takeaway there is that fourth is the same as 11th, in the same way that 6 is the same as 13, and that 2 is the same as 9. Now onto the all-important shapes. Shape number 1, G major 7 sharp 11. And I put the diagrams on the screen with suggested fingering. In some of these chord voicings we'll play 4 notes rather than the 5 notes that you actually get in the chord, and if that's the case we're dropping the 5th. So G major 7 sharp 11 sounds like this. There's the diagram on the screen with suggested fingering. So in this one we've got the root on the E string, major 7 on the D string, the major third on the G string, and the character note, the sharp 11 on the B. And it's very common for that sharp 11 to be in the top, top 3 strings so that it stands out. Nice voicing, not too difficult to get used to, and comfortable to play. My second voicing is a variation on that one, and you can just bar your first finger across fret 2. Gives you a fuller sounding chord. By having the bar, we gain the third on the A string, and another major 7 on the high E. And another voicing in this area of guitar, so with the G root on the E string, we could have this. This is quite dark, but so on this one we've got the root on the E string, the sharp 4 on the A string, major 7 on the D, and the third on the G. I think that would be, for certain more sort of atmospheric sort of sounds, it would be, you wouldn't want to comp that, but for a sustained chord in something it could be useful. For those 3 shapes, the commonality between them is obviously they were all G, major 7 sharp 11, but they were all root E. So these next couple I'm going to show you are root A, and again movable. We're going to use C major 7 sharp 11 this time. So this is our first shape. So in this voicing we've got the root on the A, third on the D, major 7th on the G, another third on the B, and then the sharp 11, the real character note on the high E. So if you want here, you can, where I'm barring the first finger, you could mute the D string and ditch that third, so you just got the third here with the little finger, and it will sound like this. I think I prefer it without the doubled note, to be honest. Compared to either, though you could use. Next one's a little bit more gnarly. Again, root A, C major 7. And what's happening here is we've got the sharp 11 on in the bass, so it sounds a little bit tense. So we've got C in the root on the A string, the sharp 11 on the D string, so you get the tritone interval there, major 7 on the G, and then the major third on the B. So far we've got 5 positions. We've got 3 for the E string where we had, and then we had the barred version of that, and then we've got the major 7 sharp 11 on the A string, or let's move on to some root D ones. So F major 7 sharp 11 sounds and looks like this. This one's a little bit curious because it doesn't have a third, but it still gets the characteristic sound because it's got the 7 and the 11, so sharp 11. So we've got F major 7 sharp 11. Now this time we've got the root on the D string, 5th on the G, major 7 on the B, and then the sharp 11 on the high E. The last one is my favourite voicing, and we're going to use G major 7 sharp 11. Again, we're on the root on the D string, and we get this sound. There's no 5th again in this one, so we've got root on the D string, major 3rd on the G, sharp 11 on the B, major 7 on the high E. I think this one works really well because the interesting notes there is on the treble, both of them are. That's the shapes I like to use, and in terms of for you when you're at home practicing and trying to get these chords into your playing, things to do is maybe just pick one or two of them to start with. Don't pick them all, pick your favourites that you like the sound of, and then practice them maybe around the circle of fifths. So you know, if you did C major 7 sharp 11, then go to F major 7 sharp 11, then B flat, and so forth, just to get used to them in different places on the neck, because what down here might be super stretchy, when you play it up here will become more comfortable, and vice versa. So it's important to be able to play it in different keys. In terms of its uses, you will spot it in songs obviously, but it's typically used as a substitution for chord 1 in a major key, or for chord 4. So that's the sort of places I like to use it. Chord 4 is very typical, but just starting off with, just get used to the shapes and get used to what notes are contained within it, and the sound of it, because you'll recognise it in other people's playing or when you're listening to records. For me, they make great finishing chords, like, you know, that will sound great as a chord to finish on. Loads of tension, loads of interest. If you've enjoyed this lesson and you'd like to learn more about jazz chords, then I'll put 2 suggested videos on the screen for you. My 12 beginner jazz chords that I recommend everyone knows to help them navigate standards. Also my last upload on the minor 9 chord, and I hope to see you next Wednesday. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Weekly jazz guitar lessons every Wednesday, where I help you navigate your jazz practice with purpose. See you next week.